Welcome to the Nation of History channel. Be sure to subscribe and like so you don't miss out on more videos like this one. Two scientists posed with the plutonium core used in the Fat Man bomb in 1945 during the Manhattan Project in the United States. This device was used in the attack on Nagasaki, Japan on August 9, 1945, as part of the actions that ended World War II. Christa McAuliffe's parents and sister watched the Space Shuttle Challenger explode at Kennedy Space Center in January 1986 in the United States. McAuliffe was a teacher chosen for the NASA Teacher in Space program. People attempted to board a plane in Nha Trang on April 1, 1975, during the U.S. withdrawal from South Vietnam. This moment was part of the final phase of the Vietnam War, marked by civilian and military evacuations in response to advancing North Vietnamese forces. Private Woods held an M60 machine gun with a burning hut in the background during a 1967 operation in Vietnam. The M60 was the United States Forces' primary support weapon, known for its firepower and versatility in combat. German soldiers stayed in waterlogged trenches in 1943 during one of the 20th century's most intense conflicts. Trenches were common on many battlefronts, providing cover but also harsh living conditions. During World War II, aircraft accidents aboard aircraft carriers were common due to intense operations and limited space for landings and takeoffs. An exhausted soldier of General George S. Patton's Third Army rested in the luxurious bed where Hermann Göring, a leading German government official at the time, had slept. The photograph was taken in May 1945 in Germany, shortly after the end of major combat operations in Europe. An M48 Patton tank commander looked through his periscope during the Vietnam War in 1967. The M48 was a primary tank used by the United States and its allies, designed for mobility and protection in challenging terrain. Two Armenian women posed with their rifles before going into battle against the Ottoman Empire in 1895. At that time, Armenian communities organized resistance movements in response to regional persecution and conflict. American artillerymen posed beside a peace flag in South Vietnam in 1971. During the Vietnam War, soldiers often expressed conflicting feelings about the conflict by displaying symbols like the peace sign. The photograph, titled "The American Way," was taken during the Great Depression in 1937 in Louisville, Kentucky. It shows citizens affected by the economic crisis contrasted with a propaganda poster promoting the American ideal of prosperity. On March 18, 1965, Russian cosmonaut Alexei Leonov became the first human to walk in outer space. He remained outside the Voskhod 2 spacecraft for 12 minutes and 9 seconds, tethered for safety. Tippi Hedren posed with her tiger in the kitchen of her Los Angeles home in 1982. The actress became famous for her roles in Alfred Hitchcock's The Birds and for her commitment to wild animal conservation. Animal trainer Olga Borisova performed with a lion in the Soviet Union in 1977. She became known for her courageous and skilled circus acts featuring big cats. A woman sat in a Paris cafe with her pet cheetah in 1932. During this period, exotic animals were sometimes kept as status symbols by European elites, despite the challenges of care. Mrs. Anna Röntgen's hand was X-rayed in 1895 in Germany using the first X-rays discovered by her husband, Wilhelm Conrad Röntgen. This historic image was the world's first radiograph, clearly showing the bones of her hand and the ring she wore. The rear of Hoover Dam was photographed shortly before it was permanently submerged in 1936. The dam on the Nevada-Arizona border created Lake Mead, which flooded large upstream areas. William Beebe stood beside his bathysphere, a submersible exploration vessel, in 1932. The spherical craft was built to withstand high pressures and enable unprecedented deep-sea observation. A Viking ship built in the year 820 was transported through the streets of Oslo, Norway in 1926. Uncovered at the Oseberg burial mound, it is one of the most significant archaeological finds of the Viking Age. Mary Monroe Sanderson, born in Lexington, Massachusetts in 1748 and living until 1852, is regarded as one of the earliest born individuals ever photographed. President John F. Kennedy met with NASA Director Dr. Wernher von Braun at Cape Canaveral, Florida, on November 16, 1963. The cast of Star Wars posed out of costume: Harrison Ford, Han Solo; David Prowse, Darth Vader; Peter Mayhew, Chewbacca; Carrie Fisher, Princess Leia; and Mark Hamill, Luke Skywalker. The photograph was taken during filming of the original trilogy released between 1977 and 1983. Neil Armstrong's wife and children watched the launch of Apollo 11 on July 16, 1969, at Kennedy Space Center in Florida, United States. This historic mission carried the first humans to the moon, with Armstrong as commander. A Pan American World Airways plane was used in 1956 in the United States to transport a 5-megabyte hard disk, part of the IBM 305 Ramax system. Telephone operators in Tokyo, Japan, used the new view phone built by Toshiba Shibora Electric Company in 1964. This pioneering device allowed operators and callers to see each other, foreshadowing today's video calling technology. The Aerotrain, developed by General Motors, was unveiled in 1956 in the United States during its inauguration ceremony. This futuristic train was designed for fast, efficient travel with an aerodynamic look inspired by contemporary automotive design. The experimental Soviet dump truck Bel A's 549B was showcased in 1969, fitted with a gas turbine engine originally used in the Mi-8 helicopter. India's first satellite, the Ariane passenger payload experiment, was manually transported before its 1981 launch. The simple, careful handling reflected the limited resources available to India's space program at the time. Albert Einstein appeared teaching in 1944 in the United States, standing before a blackboard. During this time, he was on faculty at the Institute for Advanced Study in Princeton, New Jersey, continuing his scientific work after emigrating from Germany. The Sphinx in Egypt was photographed in 1914 as part of a promotional campaign for the Ford Model T. This car, made by the Ford Motor Company, revolutionized the auto industry with its mass production and affordable price. A view of Detroit, Michigan was captured from a Ford Motor Company advertising airship on July 15, 1947. At that time, Ford used airships to promote its vehicles and emphasize the importance of the automotive industry in the region. Jim Jarrett donned the Tritonia diving suit as he prepared to explore the RMS Lusitania wreck in 1935 off the coast of Ireland. This suit was developed to enable safer deep-sea dives. Inventor Carl J. Eliasson posed beside his creation, one of the first successful snowmobiles, which he developed in Sainer, Wisconsin in the 1920s to facilitate travel over snow in remote areas. Israeli sailors posed with Uzi submachine guns during the 1960s in Israel. The Uzi was developed by Major Uziel Gal in the late 1940s and officially adopted by the Israel Defense Forces in 1954. Case Study House Number 22 in Los Angeles, California, was completed in 1960 as part of the Case Study Houses program. The project aimed to create affordable, functional residential architectural models in the post-war era. Passengers viewed the scenery while riding a streetcar bound for New Orleans in 1955 in the United States. Streetcar systems were a popular and affordable mode of transport, connecting neighborhoods and city centers across many American cities. A Douglas Aircraft Company worker installed rivets on an A-20 bomber at the Long Beach factory in California, United States. Female students worked on an assembly line making copies of World War II propaganda posters in New York in 1942. This effort was part of the national drive to mobilize war support and convey patriotic messages. Sissy Spacek sat for a portrait during the 1970s in the United States. During this time, she cemented her film career, standing out in movies like Badlands, and later Carrie in 1976, which made her world famous. Elvis Presley returned to the United States on March 7, 1960, after nearly 2 years of Army service in Germany, temporarily pausing his musical career. Harvey Ross Ball posed next to his creation in the 1960s in the United States. He was the designer who created the famous smiley face symbol originally developed in 1963 for an employee motivation campaign at an insurance company. The future King George V of the United Kingdom and Tsar Nicholas II of Russia posed together in the 1890s during a family gathering. They were cousins who shared a remarkable physical resemblance, often captured in photographs of the era. In 1929, Vivian Bales rode a 1929 Harley-Davidson motorcycle across the United States over 78 days, covering approximately 5,000 miles. A couple performed an acrobatic move during a swing dance performance, a style popular from the 1920s to the 1950s. Swing originated in the United States, associated with jazz and big bands, and was known for its fast, energetic moves. Contestants displayed their swimsuits at a pageant on June 25, 1921, in Washington, D.C., United States. These events became popular in the early 20th century, promoting beachwear fashion and shifting social norms about public attire. Workers assembled radios on a production line during the 1930s in the United States. Mass radio production was crucial to popularizing the medium, which became central to home life and entertainment. Military motorcycles were put up for sale in 1946 in the United States after World War II ended. The government released large quantities of surplus equipment, including vehicles, weapons, and supplies. Crew members of a U.S. Army Air Force's Boeing B-17 bomber posed with Royal Air Force goggles and high-altitude gear at Polebrook Air Base in England in 1942. The automatic whiskey vending machine, which mixed the spirit with soda, was exhibited at the second automatic vending exhibition held in London in 1960. The dismantling of the Panama Pacific International Exposition took place in 1916, with the Ohio building floated to Coyote Point in California, United States. Volkswagen Type 2 production took place at the Wolfsburg factory in Germany during the 1950s. This vehicle, also known as the Combi or microbus, was Volkswagen's second model after the Beetle. The Egyptian obelisk known as Cleopatra's Needle stood in its original location in Alexandria, Egypt, during the 1870s. The USS Macon airship launched its Curtiss F-9C2 Sparrowhawk fighters during the 1930s in the United States. This U.S. Navy airship was designed as a flying aircraft carrier capable of carrying up to 5 Sparrowhawks. A lounge car was aboard a Union Pacific Streamliner train during the 1950s in the United States. These trains were known for their comfort and modern design, providing passengers with seating areas featuring sofas, tables, and large panoramic windows. A woman posed in front of her home in 1916 in the Värmland region of Sweden. The residence was built in a traditional Scandinavian style, using local materials and methods typical of the time. The interior of a Harley-Davidson factory was shown in the 1920s in the United States. Founded in 1903 in Milwaukee, Wisconsin, the company was already establishing itself as one of the world's leading motorcycle manufacturers. The Hotel Astor in New York City appeared in this 1909 photograph. Opened in 1904, the hotel was renowned for its lavish architecture and status as a major social hub in Times Square. A Gulf gas station was photographed in Miami Beach, Florida, in 1939. The station featured the era's characteristic architecture with bold signage and lined fuel pumps for motorists. Italian restaurateur Cesare Cardini is credited with creating the Caesar salad in 1924 in Tijuana, Mexico. He ran a restaurant popular with American tourists, especially during Prohibition in the United States. Bob Dylan and his wife Sarah posed with their daughter Anna in 1968 in the United States. By then, Bob Dylan was one of the leading figures in folk and rock music, known for his impactful songwriting and social activism. Mexican actress Maria Felix posed in 1954 during the golden age of Mexican cinema. She was one of Latin America's most prominent film stars, known for her striking presence and leading roles. Italian actress Claudia Cardinale sat on a sofa in the 1960s in a relaxed setting with a turntable beside her. She was one of Europe's biggest movie stars, celebrated for her beauty and talent in Italian and international films. Natalie Wood posed in her Los Angeles, California home in 1960. By then, the actress was already one of Hollywood's most recognized stars, known for roles in films such as Rebel Without a Cause and Splendor in the Grass. 17-year-old Norma Jean Dougherty appeared in 1943 in the United States. The previous year, she had married Los Angeles police officer James Dougherty, and during this time, she worked in factories to support the war effort. At age 13 in 1959, Dolly Parton was emerging as a young singer, already showcasing the musical talent that would later make her one of the most influential country and pop artists. Ozzy Osbourne and his first wife Thelma posed together on their wedding day in 1971 in the United Kingdom. Ozzy, known as the lead singer of Black Sabbath, was at the start of a musical career that would become one of rock's most influential. Sylvester Stallone lifted Brigitte Nielsen during a 1987 photo shoot in the United States. At the time, they were married and one of entertainment's most famous couples. Susan Sarandon and David Bowie were photographed together on a relaxed evening in 1983 in the United States. During that period, they both starred in the thriller film The Hunger, which brought their careers together. Arnold Schwarzenegger and Maria Shriver posed together on their wedding day in 1986 in the United States. Arnold was a renowned bodybuilder and actor known for films like The Terminator, while Maria was a journalist and member of the Kennedy family. Athlete Joan Rhodes tore a telephone directory in half to demonstrate her physical strength in 1953 in the United Kingdom. Known as a strong woman, she performed public feats like bending iron bars and lifting heavy weights. Women shopped in a grocery store during the 1960s in the United States in a setting typical of the era. Astor, a black German Shepherd police dog, rode in a sidecar driven by Sergeant Ernst Müller of the Hamburg Police in Germany. A Ford Model A was positioned on a lubrication ramp at the Lube Seal Service Garage in 1930 in the United States. Introduced in 1927 as the successor to the Model T, it featured innovations such as a geared transmission and improved comfort. A Spahi cavalryman posed with his horse and traditional saber in North Africa in May 1940. Spahis were mounted troops from French North African colonies such as Algeria, Morocco, and Tunisia, serving in the French army. A pamphlet detailing relations between the 1930s German government and the Arab world was produced as part of the propaganda and diplomatic strategies of the era. These materials aim to influence populations in strategic regions by promoting alliances and political interests. People wore traditional Dutch costumes in a photograph taken around 1900 in the Netherlands. Regional variations included wooden clogs, long skirts, vests, and elaborate caps. Students took a typing proficiency test in the 1960s wearing vision-blocking masks. This accessory was used to prevent them from looking at the keys, encouraging touch typing memorization. A young German woman roller skated alongside her American soldier boyfriend in Frankfurt in the early 1950s. After World War II, U.S. troops remained in Germany as part of the occupation and rebuilding efforts. Apollo 16 astronaut Charles Duke left a photograph of his family on the lunar surface in 1972. The photo of him, his wife, and their 2 children was sealed in plastic for protection. Audrey Hepburn took a ballet class in early 1950s London, United Kingdom. Before becoming an international film star, she trained intensively in dance to pursue a professional ballet career. Members of the band Kiss applied their stage makeup during the 1970s in the United States. The group became world famous for their distinctive face paint, representing characters like the Demon, the Star Child, the Spaceman, and the Catman. An operations map was on display at the Royal Air Force Coastal Command headquarters in Northwood, Hertfordshire, on July 9, 1943. This strategic center coordinated maritime patrol and anti-submarine defense missions in the Atlantic. William Howard Taft mounted a horse at an official ceremony in 1905 in the United States. At that time, he served as Secretary of War before becoming the nation's 27th president in 1909. Marilyn Monroe took part in a promotional campaign for the Milk Fund for Babies charity in 1957 in the United States. This organization aimed to provide milk and food for children in need. A driving lesson was conducted in the United States in 1945 using mechanical simulators. These devices let students practice basic maneuvers in a safe environment before driving real cars on the streets. A horse-drawn street sweeper operated in New York City in 1905. At that time, horse-drawn vehicles were common for clearing accumulated trash and debris from the streets. A London Underground station in the United Kingdom was photographed over 100 years ago, showing one of the world's first subway systems. The London Tube began operating in 1863 and quickly expanded to become essential for city travel. A student received a permanent wave hair treatment at a beauty school around the 1940s in the United States. The equipment used included electric wires and heated tubes popular at the time for creating long-lasting curls. A rice cake vendor worked on a street in Japan in 1914. Such mobile stalls were common, offering traditional foods like mochi and senbei to city residents and visitors. If you enjoyed this video and want to support the channel, please use the Super Thanks tool below. Your contribution helps us keep bringing you amazing historical content. Thank you so much for your support, and see you in the next video.